أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the realm of Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 231.
وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ سَرِّحُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ وَلَا تُمْسِكُوهُنَّ ضِرَارًا لِتَعْتَدُوا وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ ولا تتخذوا آيات الله هزوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم وما أنزل عليكم من الكتاب والحكمة يعظكم به واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله بكل شيء عليم.
And when you divorce women and they reach their term, then retain them with kindness or release them with kindness. And do not retain them for harm so that you transgress. And whoever does that has certainly wronged himself. And do not take the signs of Allah in jest, and remember the favor of Allah upon you and what He has sent down to you of the book, and wisdom by which He instructs you. And fear Allah, and know that Allah is knowing of all things. After Allah the Almighty clarified in the previous verse that the husband has the choice between retention and release during the waiting period, He follows it up by stating that this choice remains his right until the last moment of the waiting period. This serves as a reminder that retention is preferable to release, and that divorce should only be resorted to if all avenues of reconciliation and resolution are blocked. Furthermore, if he opts for divorce, he must follow the path of truth and justice, not falsehood and oppression. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "And when you divorce women and they reach their term, then retain them with kindness or release them with kindness." The term ajal here refers to the waiting period of a woman, and reaching it means approaching its end. The meaning, O believers, if you divorce your wives with a revocable divorce and they reach their term, meaning their waiting period is close to ending, you must reflect carefully on your decision. If you deem it best for them to remain with you, then execute that decision and retain them with kindness, meaning in accordance with the just laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as well as good morals and sound reasoning. However, if you find no desire to remain with them, release them with kindness, meaning carry out the divorce and separate in a manner that pleases Allah, ensuring that their rights are granted and refraining from speaking ill of them after separation. This is the conduct of the righteous and pious. When someone was asked, "Why did you divorce your wife?" he replied, "A wise man does not reveal what occurred between him and his spouse." Kindness, goodness, and benevolence should prevail in this life, whether the marital bond remains intact or is severed. Malice and obstinacy should not have a place in these matters. Achieving such a high level of magnanimity, especially in cases of separation and divorce, where emotions run high, requires an element beyond worldly circumstances, an element that elevates souls above grudges and animosity, broadens perspectives, and extends beyond the present moment. This element is faith in Allah and the hereafter, as well as the remembrance of Allah's blessings in all their forms, starting from the highest blessing of faith to the blessings of health and sustenance. This element is invoked in the verse which speaks of prioritizing kindness and goodness, whether the marriage continues or ends. During the pre-Islamic era, women suffered oppression, living in humiliation and disgrace. If they were divorced, they were often prevented from remarrying unless their former husbands permitted it, or their families forbade them from returning to their former husbands if they sought reconciliation. In general, women were regarded with a degrading and inferior status, similar to the norms of all prevalent systems of ignorance at that time. Then Islam came, bringing the breeze of mercy and justice into women's lives. It granted them full rights and dignity, elevating their status and affirming that they and men are of one soul, created by Allah. Islam raised the institution of marriage to the level of worship when conducted with kindness. Women neither demanded these rights nor did men imagine them, but it was Allah's mercy that encompassed both genders and safeguarded the entirety of human life. Then Allah says, "And do not retain them for harm so that you transgress." That is, do not keep them with the intention of harming them and making their lives difficult, as narrated about an Ansari man who told his wife, "By Allah, I will neither take you back nor let you go." This is retention without kindness. It is harmful retention, which Islam does not approve of. In this context, the Quran stirs the noblest emotions and evokes a sense of modesty before Allah and fear of Him, aiming to cleanse souls from the remnants of pre-Islamic ignorance and elevate them to a noble level of refinement. And Allah says, "And whoever does that has certainly wronged himself," which means the one who retains his divorced wife with the intent to harm and oppress her is wronging himself, for she is his sister in humanity. By wronging her, he wrongs himself, as he also leads himself into sin. This is the manipulation of Allah's signs, which the verse warns against by saying, "And do not take the signs of Allah in jest." The laws of Allah concerning marital life and divorce are clear, straightforward and serious, meant to regulate life on the basis of sincerity and truth. If someone exploits these laws to harm women or manipulates the allowances Allah has provided as a means of oppression, or if he abuses the right of taking his wife back, granted by Allah as an opportunity to restore and mend the marital relationship, but instead keeps her only to distress her, then he has taken the signs of Allah in jest. Allah reminds them of His blessings and what He has revealed from the book and wisdom to admonish them by saying, "And remember the favor of Allah upon you and what He has sent down to you of the book and wisdom by which He instructs you." Then He delivers a final touch to their hearts in this verse, instilling fear and reminding them that Allah is fully aware of all things by saying, "And fear Allah and know that Allah is knowing of all things." Here the Quran arouses a sense of fear and caution, following the sentiments of modesty and gratitude, gripping the soul from all angles to guide it towards gentleness, mercy, and grace. And Allah knows best. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُّدَّكِرٍ